Have you ever wondered what truly stays in a man's heart long after the moment has passed? It's not always the grand gestures or carefully chosen words. Sometimes it's the tiniest things you may not even notice in yourself anymore. And as we age gracefully, slowly, and beautifully, we often forget just how deeply we are still being seen, felt, and remembered by the ones who love us. There's something so tender about connection in our later years. When the noise of youth fades, what remains is truth, raw, silent, deeply human truth. This, is a story about that kind of noticing. And maybe, just maybe, it will remind you how profoundly your presence still matters. Let's begin with something honest. After 50, our bodies begin to change. For women, menopause can feel like a silent storm. Sleep is lighter, heat surges unexpectedly, and the body doesn't feel quite like home anymore. The mirror reflects a face we don't always recognize, and clothes we once loved sit differently on the shoulders. For men, the story shifts too. Erections aren't as predictable, energy isn't what it was, and the once unshakable self-image can start to quietly unravel. And yet, something astonishing happens in this chapter of life. We begin to see each other more completely, not through the lens of youth and performance, but through understanding, soul to soul. There was a woman named Margaret, 67, living in Devon. A widow for nearly 15 years, she had come to believe her days of being admired were long behind her. She wore comfortable shoes and cardigans with deep pockets. Her perfume sat untouched on the shelf, a scent from a past life, she thought. But one summer evening, at a community garden event, she met Thomas. He was 71, soft-spoken, with tired hands and kind eyes. They spoke about tomatoes, of all things. What struck Thomas wasn't her hair or her dress or her laugh, though all were lovely in their own way. What he noticed was how she touched the soil gently, like she was greeting an old friend. How she smiled when the wind brushed her cheek. How her eyes crinkled when she remembered something fond. In her, he saw warmth, a kind of womanhood that didn't need to shout to be felt. Margaret had no idea he noticed these things. Just as so many women, even now, don't realize how deeply men observe them, especially in later life. It's not always about appearance. It's how you carry silence, how you respond to someone else's pain, how you listen or hum to yourself while stirring tea. Men notice these moments, often quietly, because after 60, life has humbled them. They've learned to pay attention to what truly lasts. They notice when you laugh at their old jokes, not out of politeness, but because you remember when they first told them 30 years ago. They notice how you still tuck the blanket under their feet at night, even though you think they don't see it. They notice how you pause at the window when it rains, and they wonder what memory visited you in that moment. They notice how you hold space for others, how you light up when speaking about your children, or how your voice softens when talking to animals. These things may seem small, but to someone who loves you, they are everything. And maybe you don't believe it. Maybe you felt overlooked, dismissed, even invisible since you turned 60. But hear this now, gently and truthfully. You are not invisible, not to the man who truly sees. And if you've lost that connection, if the warmth has faded in your marriage or companionship, know this, it is not too late to begin again. John and Helen, both in their early 70s from Ontario, had been sleeping in separate rooms for 5 years. Not out of conflict, just quiet distance. Over time, they had let routine become the third person in their marriage. But one day, John sat beside Helen while she was reading, and instead of talking about bills or errands, he said, "I miss touching your hand." Helen didn't cry. She didn't speak. She simply turned her palm upward and let him hold it. That night, they watched a film together for the first time in years. No fireworks, no great declarations, just presence. It began there, the slow rebuilding of emotional intimacy. Because intimacy, after 50, is not about what happens in the bedroom. It's about what happens in the kitchen, the car, the garden. It's about laughing over misheard words and holding each other through doctor's appointments. It's about listening, not fixing, not advising, just being with. If you're struggling with body image, if the weight has changed, if the skin is softer, if desire flickers unpredictably, know this. You are still deserving of affection. You are still worthy of someone wanting to hold you close, not in spite of your body, but because of the life it has lived. There is no shame in age, no expiry date on beauty, no limit to the tenderness you are allowed to receive or give. If the connection in your life feels lost, take one small step today. Maybe it's reaching out to an old friend. Maybe it's writing a letter to your partner saying something you haven't said in years. Maybe it's simply standing in front of the mirror, placing a hand on your heart and saying, "I am still here." You are. You are still here, breathing, feeling, remembering, longing. And every year that passes is not a closing door. It's a deepening path. It is okay to seek therapy. It is okay to ask for support. It is okay to want more closeness, more truth, more laughter in the years ahead. It is never too late to learn how to love again. Let us celebrate the details, the soft gray hair, the hands that have held generations, the wrinkles that carry stories, the eyes that have seen both storms and stars. Let us remind the world and ourselves that aging is not a slow disappearance. It is a beautiful unfolding. If you've felt unseen lately, let this be your reminder that someone is noticing. Maybe it's a partner. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's you finally seeing yourself again with gentleness and pride. At the age of beauty, we believe that every year added to your life adds a new layer of richness to who you are. So let's walk this journey together with open hearts, steady voices, and the courage to be soft in a world that forgets how to pause. If this message touched something inside you, if it made you feel just a little more understood today, then please gently press like. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to The Age of Beauty for more soulful reflections on what it means to grow older with grace. You are not old. You are becoming whole. And we're honored to be here with you every step of the way.